What's up everyone, Wesley Malott here, and if you're a fan of camera gear, then you know that the past week has been very exciting. Last week, Canon announced the brand new R5, which is capable of recording full-frame 8K RAW. And today, Blackmagic responded with... Now last week I was blown away with the announcement of the R5, but today I'm even more so blown away because Blackmagic just announced the brand new Ursa Mini Pro 12K. That is a mouthful to say, just like the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Why do you have such long names? When I first heard that Blackmagic would be making an announcement today, I really didn't think it would be possible that they'd be releasing a new camera. I just thought it would be firmware updates to their existing camera lines. I thought maybe there would be a chance at them updating a camera in their studio line, but alas, none of that matters because they did upgrade the Ursa Mini, and holy crap. The Ursa Mini Pro 12K features a 12K Super 35 sensor with 14 stops of dynamic range and a native ISO of 800. It contains a brand new 5th generation color science that produces better highlight roll-off, better skin tones, and better consistency with 3D LUTs, which will allow you a lot more range when color grading your footage. And if for any reason you don't like the new color science, you can always switch back to the old generation in the menu. Now Blackmagic did say that the G5 color science will be rolled out to their other cameras via firmware updates, so that is something that's really exciting for anyone that can't afford the new camera, which, oh yeah, is $10,000. That price should be a huge relief to anyone who just bought an Ursa Mini G2 or a Pocket 6K, since that's a fairly steep price difference between those two highly respectable, very competent cameras. The camera has an identical form factor as the other cameras in the Mini Pro line, featuring the same dual CFast or SD card slots, 2-stop, 4-stop, or 6-stop IR cut neutral density filters, and a 4-inch LCD touchscreen. You also have the ability to record directly to flash disk or SSD using the USB-C port. The camera ships with a PL mount but has an interchangeable mount system, so you can swap it out to an EF, F, or B4 mount depending on what lenses you own. Additionally, if you already own an Ursa, all of your accessories will work with the new camera, so there's no need to upgrade any of your accessories. Jumping into resolutions and frame rates, we can shoot Blackmagic RAW in 12K, 8K, 6K, and 4K at speeds of up to 578 megabytes per second. Now, one thing worthy to note here is it looks like ProRes is not available on the 12K model at all, which I'm not sure if that's an oversight or if they'll be adding it through a future firmware update. But either way, having high quality ProRes codecs was always one of my favorite features of Blackmagic cameras. But this camera is more directly geared toward improving the efficiency and performance of the Blackmagic RAW to DaVinci Resolve workflow, so it seems that they're trying to keep their shooters inside of the Blackmagic ecosystem for editing. But anyway, jumping back to specs, we have constant bitrate, Blackmagic RAW at 5:1, 8:1, 12:1, and 16:1 compressions. And we have constant quality Blackmagic RAW at Q0, Q1, Q3, and Q5, which are available in all resolutions. One difference between the 12K and the 4.6K to note here is that we lose Blackmagic RAW 3:1 compression in all resolutions, but we gain 16:1 and Q3, which again, I don't know if they'll be adding those compressions to the camera in a future firmware update or not, but it's a little frustrating that they got rid of the 3:1 compression, since it would be especially useful if you're shooting 4K or 6K on the camera. As far as frame rates go, you can shoot 60 frames per second at 12K resolution. Let that sink in, Canon. 110 frames per second at 8K, or you can do a Super 16 windowed sensor mode to capture 220 frames per second in 4K. I repeat, that's 220 frames per second in 4K. Given it's not a full readout of the sensor, but still you get 220 frames per second in 4K. Now those are just some of the biggest highlights from the announcement today, and if you're interested in checking out the full specs in more detail, I've put a link to them in the description below. Blackmagic has made a few clips available for download so that you can do some test grades with the new color science. Links to those are also in the description below. In their announcement, Blackmagic stated that the camera would be shipping to higher end DPs first, but the camera would start to be available within a couple of weeks. Whatever that means, it's super vague. Now this camera is absolutely insane. There is no doubt about that. But do you really need 12K? Am I going to get this camera? That's gonna be a hard no from me, Chief. Now, if you're familiar with our channel and you've seen our videos, you know that I love Blackmagic cameras and how they're constantly pushing innovation and competition within the industry. But at 10 grand, this camera is just way outside of my budget, and 4K is all that I need for the work that I do. Now, don't get me wrong, I would absolutely love to rent this camera for productions or even to do a proper review on it. But at this point in my filmmaking career, I just don't have the clientele that would make this a worthwhile purchase. So then, who is this camera really for? Well, this camera is definitely geared toward higher budget productions or working professionals that would be using higher end cinema cameras such as the Canon C500 Mark II or the Sony FX9, for example. And sadly, that is not us yet. At the end of the day, your camera's resolution will have no effect on your ability to tell a compelling story, but Blackmagic's technical innovation and constant disruption of the marketplace has made capturing gorgeous imagery more widely accessible than ever. Let me know what you think about the camera in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, whether you're interested in using it or you think it's just a big gimmick. But that is going to do it for this week's episode. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below, and we'll see you next week for another episode of